And we're in business, baby.
I don't know how talkative I've ever been.
You always say you're gonna talk. You're a talkative person.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna get in any area that I don't want to get into.
Okay. So we just went, rode the gator around at my farm. Hey, Grandpa, you smell.
Yeah, I know.
And then we went on a walk. Hey, Grandpa, you smell.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Grandpa. If you died tomorrow, what would your regrets be? Like, would you have any regrets in life, or would you not have any at all?
I always have regrets.
Would they be from, like, your youth?
No, I'm just not as good a person as I used to be. Something happened in the last few years, and I don't know what it was.
So you said you're coming down. I think that's natural. I think everybody hits a peak in life. I think that's natural. I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. I think you should focus on the moment. Focus on being the best person you can now. But when would you say you peaked? When would you say you're like absolute, you're most proud of who you were?
I'd say from the time that Scott and Kurt were 8 years old until they left off for college.
Why is that?
Well, we went to soccer practice just about every night. I came home. We had 2 soccer seasons, fall and spring. And so probably about 4 months or 5 months out of the year I was coming home and didn't even eat, you know. I had practice as soon as I got home. And we only played, from what I remember, only played once a week, but we practiced every, like Tuesday and Thursday. And so 3 days a week I had the kids either practicing or at a game. I refereed for a while on top of that, so I guess probably from the time they were 8 until Christian got in 9th grade.
Yeah.
So it was 1991, and that 1978 is when soccer, SCCY.
So you think a lot of your peak had to do with coaching them?
Yeah.
Where do you think that fulfillment, that like joy, that bliss that came out of that? Where do you think that? Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I had a lot of kids on the team, 15 kids on the team. I think they all were really crazy about me for some reason or other, because I had to take half of them to practice. Parents didn't take them. Not half of them, maybe 3 or 4 kids plus Scott and Kurt, you know, so a lot of times I had 4 or 5 kids in the band.
Do you think any of that joy and pleasure derives from you giving back? And like, because I think a lot of people would agree that one of the happiest things you can do as a human would be to be selfless, to give back, and think of something greater than yourself that you can contribute to. You know what I mean? Like that, I think that kind of correlates with growth in life. And whenever you're selfless and giving, I think that adds a lot more happiness than you being narcissistic and super selfish all the time really will. I think you're going to be the most fulfilled people on this earth are the ones that are giving back all the time. That's just my opinion.
Actually, there was 1 or 2 years that I coached and didn't even have one of my kids on the team.
Right.
It's a bunch of kids I didn't even know. And I just, you do that for so many years. You know, I had the girls for, I think 8 years. No, 9 years. The boys 8 years. Something like that. I think it was 17 years. maybe the other team was in there. I think a couple was the coach for 17 years, consecutive years. And
Can you speak up a little bit?
I don't feel like it.
I know.
I'm not really. I don't know. I just certain things that, I guess from the past, you know, things are starting to affect me a lot in bad ways.
I'll move it up a little closer to you.
You know, actually, I didn't get out of college until 1975, and then I started practicing in 1978. So, when I was in college, I went to work every day. Then I went 2 days a week or 3 days a week. I had to be in class at 5:20 for a long time, you know, and I got off at 5 o'clock.
Class for what?
I took 2 classes every night.
Wait, was this in your college days?
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking about your 30s.
I don't know how old I was. I was 32 when I graduated from college. I think that's right. 1975. So that sounds like it might have been 32 years old when I found my parents. And then, so, you know, I studied every night I didn't go to class. I studied, including Saturdays. I had a really, really complicated job. When I worked for Southwestern Bell, and I was lost. I had a whole lot of stuff to learn, a whole lot.
And was this like after you got out of the military, or when was this?
I got out of the military in 1967. And this was in like 1973, 4, 5, in there. You know.
Okay. So
that was several years after I got out of the Air Force.
So would you say that you're, so now you said you've kind of like I guess you said you're not as good of a person now as you used to be. Do you think that kind of derives from the nostalgia of the past and like thinking about the past all the time? Do you think that's kind of led to self-pity?
No.
No?
I might be.
Do you think that
subconsciously I might do that, but I don't think.
Like unrealized, yeah. Do you think that nostalgia of thinking about the past? Do you think about the past a lot?
I don't know. It mixes in with when I think about everything, something all the time, everything.
Right.
Yeah, you do too. You know, you talked about that before, but I can't stop thinking about everything, and that gets to you after a while.
Right.
It'd be nice to be able to just kind of, you know, like concentrate on some things I need to do outside in the yard, or maybe try to, over the years, maybe try to be a better golfer, you know. I played golf with 2 guys, and all they talk about is golf. They even watch golf on television. Think about it.
That's so boring.
Watching play golf on television, you know. They even do that, you know. I don't ever do that. I go out there and I talk to them, but it has nothing to do with golf. Mm-hmm. And they talk about golf, and for the most part, about half the time.
Do you think that gives them a lot of meaning? Like, I want to say that golf's a distraction, but does golf add a lot of happiness and joy to their life?
I'm sure it does to theirs, but they don't talk about, like they both have, there's 2 guys and me, they both have grandkids and kids, but they don't talk about them. It's like they don't ever think about their kids.
Oh, really?
Their grandkids.
When you would say your priorities are more focused on your kids?
I'd say.
And grandkids?
Mostly grandkids now. I mean, the kids have grown. They're almost 50 years. Mine is 52 years old already, so I've already screwed up bad enough with her, I guess. So.
I mean, you've known her for 52 years. I don't think you're fine.
I mean, I don't know. I used to be a really good person, and not anymore.
I wouldn't say you're a bad person. I enjoy hanging out with you.
I don't know. I don't know. I think my thought process is pretty bad.
Well, I would also argue that you're a product of your environment, because I think you've changed over the years since I've known you as like whenever you were younger.
Well, it's 3. I told you the other day. You live 3 lives. Some people 4 now. I guess I'm in my 3rd person. Like third,
Right.
4th.
In my life, I've kind of seen you transition from that second life to the third.
Yeah.
Which I think that second life was full of constant activity. Maybe not constant, but a lot more activity, a lot more things for you to do. And then now, would you say you're kind of bored now?
Anybody that has a brain as active as I am is going to be bored.
Right.
You know, everybody says get a job.
Because I would say there's something that, I mean, we talk about this a lot, and I know what you mean. I definitely inherited something weird from you. I don't know if I like it or not, but there's like something the way our brains work. It's very compatible that like I kind of feel like you're one of the only people I can relate to. And Melena's kind of the same way that you and I are. And I don't really know anybody else who's kind of that way, personally. But what I found is that when I just sit around, this is just the way my brain works. I don't know if this is the same way yours works or not. I'm not trying to like diagnose or anything like that. I'm just saying this is what's worked for me. But when I sit around and I just like for example, this past semester, when I was just sitting around my apartment and just deep in my own head, deep in my own thoughts, that would make a negative spiral that always went downward. It always went south. And if it went upward, it always somehow found its way south at some point. And so what I found is that I need not distractions, but are you familiar with like logotherapy?
Logo? L-O-G-O, logo.
Logo and then therapy. It's like one word. It was developed by Viktor Frankl so he was a Jew in the Holocaust. He was a Jew in Auschwitz. He wrote a book that I read this past semester called A Man's Search for Meaning. It's a really good book. He's like talking about the Nazis and like how the Nazis were terrible people, man. But long story short, he developed this thing after he left the Nazi concentration camps that has to do with, it's called logotherapy, which is the idea that you need to find purpose, meaning, fulfillment in your life constantly. You need to find things that are going to make you feel fulfilled. And I kind of after I read that book, I kind of took on that initiative with a lot of other external stimuli, like to kind of motivate those actions. But that's why I started taking up so many hobbies. That's why I started meditating this semester. I started going on hikes a lot. I started reading all the time. Started reading a lot. I read like 16 books this semester. I started painting. I was obsessed with painting for like a month. I was painting like 8 hours a day. Because that's just like the way my mind works. I obsess over things. I love whatever I'm doing, and I think passion is kind of the meaning to life. I think passion has a lot to do with happiness. Like the more passionate I am, the more fulfilled, the more happy I am. And that's why I took up Muay Thai, boxing, karate this summer now. But yoga, I took up yoga this semester. But the idea of why I'm saying I took up all these things is because these give my life meaning and fulfillment. And if I didn't do these things, I would go insane. I would legitimately go insane, and I would be depressed. That's what I figured out about myself this summer. And I've been a lot more happy ever since I figured that out. About my own brain. Or about myself.
Yeah, you got everything to look forward to. I've got everything to look backward at.
I think you're choosing to look at it like that, though.
Well, people tell me, why don't you get up and do something? But they don't have the problem. Because they're still in that part of their lives, like Darcy's still working real estate. You know, you can work real estate till you die.
Right.
So she's got something to keep her busy, because she's on the phone a lot, you know, with Rhonda, but also with clients.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has to keep her brain. The reason I watch Fox is a lot of, it's not because I don't know what they're going to say, because I do. It's to have a human being where I can listen. I can listen to somebody.
So, when you say
watch
that,
it, I know what they're going to say.
when you say that, you're getting the fulfillment from. It's not even fulfillment. You're lonely. Is that what you're saying? Lonely. Honestly, what's helped me with being lonely, because I was kind of the same way. I was living alone this past semester. I was kind of bored. Didn't really have too many like good quality friends that I like wanted to hit up and hang out with. Like, I was just kind of impartial. Everybody that was in my life, friend wise, like, I was impartial if I hung out with them or not. You know, I didn't really have any friends. Like, I'm like,
No. The next 2 years you'll have Mason there. So if you just,
yeah,
you know, if you just really get lonely,
I got him.
1 minute you could be hanging out with him unless he's in the classroom or something.
Well, that on top of the fact that I got 3 roommates now. Before I had no roommates because my roommate moved out at semester.
You have 4 people in your house?
I have 4 people in my house, yeah. And they're 3 pretty cool, motivated, chill dudes. So
Wow.
I'm looking forward to it. Like I won't be this way the next semester. I knew that I was gonna have those 3 roommates, so I'm like, you know what? I love my alone time. I value my alone time. So I'm just gonna spend this entire semester alone. Like, I don't care what that means. I'm forcing myself to be alone. Maybe it's not the most healthy decision, but I enjoyed it. I got some benefits out of it. Sometimes it did get lonely, but what I did to kind of ease the pain of loneliness is podcasts, like I was suggesting to you last night. Podcasts, there's something about podcasts. You just like, it's weird because you listen to 2 people have a conversation, especially when it's like Joe Rogan is somebody, he's somebody I want to be like. He's somebody I'm kind of already like in a way, but he's somebody I look up to, you know. But I like listening to him for, I don't know, I've probably listened to 50 hours of his podcast at least. Well, probably more. I'm probably closer to 100 hours now that I think about it. But, like, he just, I don't know, you kind of start to, like, I don't want to say emotionalize with these people, but you start to, like, figure them out and what type of people, at least I have with him. Like, I figured out what kind of guy he is and, like his nobility and, like, what kind of person he is. And I feel like I've connected with him. Even though he's not connecting with me back, it's like, it still kind of fills that loneliness thing. It's weird. I don't know. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, see, you look at things, when I read a book or when I look at something, I already know a lot of the stuff they're talking about.
Right.
And I know, a lot of times I don't know this, I don't know exactly what's the theme, I guess, the theme of what they're all about, but very few people say something that I don't know already.
I disagree. I think you're looking in the wrong spots.
That's the downside, really, to, like, I still like history, but when I heard somebody talking about it, almost every case, I already know that that's what went on.
Then you can move on to science, or you can move on to philosophy. Or
I tried some psychology, I guess. I can't, things that I don't know about now, I can't learn them. I
want to say, like, you can't keep telling yourself that, but I also don't have a 70-year-old brain. I have a 21-year-old brain that's constantly, like, adapting and learning. It's very malleable, versus your brain is probably pretty set in stone.
It's set in stone, and I've not too many years. I'll be 80 years old.
Right.
Now, granted, there's 80, and there's 80. Now, I'm 73 now. I could probably find some guys that are 73 now that are just wobbling through life. Just, they don't know where they are sometimes. They don't, and some people will probably...
Well,
I don't think too many are sharper than I am at my age.
Right.
I mean, I could eat McShannon alive with
Yeah.
with just about anything because all he does is say huh, and he's got those things in his ears, both sides, both ears.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hearing aids,
before he put them in there, hearing aids, before he got those, he would say huh on everything.
Because you're gonna.
What does he do now? He just says huh on everything.
Oh, you like developed that habit and just stuck with that
I told
habit?
him the other day, I said, man, you say huh on everything. Well, no, I don't.
He's probably. Does he not listen to what you're saying? Or is he just. He can't.
He's
He
really
literally,
smart.
like, can't hear what you're
I think
saying?
he's a really smart person, so he probably thinks about a lot of stuff. I'm guessing anyway. But, I don't know. No matter what you say, he never understands it the first time, second time, third time.
Right.
But he's smart, so he'll keep asking you questions till I talk enough to get through to him
Right.
so he knows what I'm talking about. It's like, if we're talking about something and I say something on the same subject, he doesn't seem to know what I'm talking about. And we just talked about it. And heard a little bit different,
Right, yeah.
And then, so I'm thinking that he's getting senile because it says huh about everything. And then he claims he doesn't say huh. So the last two or three times we went out to play golf, I tell him. When he says huh, I say huh.
Huh?
Right after him, I say, Mick, blah, 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 huh? And I'll say, huh?
Sound like French
I
Montana.
said, Mick, you said huh again. You said huh again. Then 5 minutes later, yeah. And the other guy, Gary.
There's a rapper who does that. It's like his trademark. He goes, huh?
Yeah, I mean, so Gary, I told Gary, I said, because when Gary's in a different, Mick and I go together in the same golf cart.
Right.
He's over there. So when we go to the next hole, we're here and he's usually up here. So if he says anything, Mick can't hear it. So I think I said, Gary, hey Gary, you might as well say everything twice. I'm going to tell him that the next time we play golf. Probably on Tuesday. Hey Gary, you're going to have to say everything twice. So you might as well just say it twice to start with.
Right.
Rather than wait on him to say huh. So you can say, Mick, I think you ought to do this. This will help you out on golf. Mick, this is what I think you should do. It's going to help you out on golf, Might as well say it twice, because he's going to say huh. Or you could say, hey, Mick, didn't even say huh.
That would be strange. I clearly I can't relate at all. That's weird to where you're gonna start being. You're starting to get to the stages of life where your friends and the people around you are starting to kind of lose it in a way.
Now Gary's not that way. He's old. He's 3 months older than Mick.
Okay.
See, they're 77 already.
I think that has to do a lot with how you take care of your body. I think genetics has a little bit to do with it, but I think how you take care of your body has to do with everything on how you're going to be when you're 70.
Well,
80.
Mick is he smoked and drank most of his life. He probably still drinks beer, a lot of beer. He can't just, and he's really fat, You know that, you met him.
I'm in it for like half a second.
Yeah, but he's, if he loses 10 pounds, give him a week, he'll get them back. They eat out every day. They go eat hamburgers and stuff every day.
Yeah.
I think literally every day.
See,
they eat
what
out.
I kind of believe, and this is a really basic philosophy based on the little I know about nutrition, which is still a fair amount, but I still don't know nearly as much as a lot of people. But anyway, I believe if what you're putting in your body is bad for your body, it's probably bad for your mind as well. And what I'm starting to learn is a lot of people who are especially the lower class, poor people, but people that are not health conscious also aren't that intelligent.
Who do you know this for?
I'm mainly referring to the people I work with at Steak and Shake. They have what Napoleon Hill refers to as poverty consciousness.
Are they poor people?
I don't know. They're
Bailey's
poverty conscious. I know what poverty consciousness is, and they're definitely fit the description.
All three of you kids working at Steak and Shake. None of you's poor. You never been poor. You never will be poor.
Right, but there's different. When you walk in that door, your coworkers are very, very different people. You can tell who's working there for a summer job when they're in college, or who's a high school student working there for some extra cash. And then you can tell they're like right now, for example, how old would I get? She's probably 50 years old. She's worked there for 9 years. And there's another girl who's worked there for 30 years. She's like 60. There's another 60-year-old who's worked there for a few years. Like, just to put it short, one of those ladies, I'm not trying to disparage her reputation at all, even though I'm not mentioning her name, but she's the sweetest old lady. Just really nice lady. Really, like, a pleasure to be around. Extremely charismatic. Just brights up the room when she's around there. She's been training me. She's been super nice. But the other two, one's kind of nice, kind of mean. The other one, she's just really trashy. Like, and the one I worked at in Springfield, like the people there are just extremely trashy. Like I don't know, they're just very gross, very I don't know.
You got to think about it. Some of these people that work, they make a lot of money.
A fair amount.
Well, they don't pay taxes. I'm guessing. Jordan, I'm telling you, this is. I hope I get through to you.
They're still working at Steak and Shake.
I hope I get through to you, Jordan. If you get a job making $60,000 a year,
right,
they're going to take about 20 of it. You got to get used to that. I mean, you will not believe your first paycheck. Let's say your first paycheck's $1,000 gross.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have at least 5 or 6 or 7 things on your check stub. You will not believe.
That right there is a huge divide between liberals and conservatives.
Well, I mean, you talk to your dad. He doesn't get that. He has to, every 3 months, he has to come up with some money and give to because he's got his own business. Talk to somebody like Scott. I bet you they take at least 30% of his money. He makes a ton of money. You don't think so?
No, I'm just shaking my head in disgust.
I'll bet in some cases it's more.
That is something that I'm very conservative about. I don't believe in that. I don't know.
Well, you gotta pay them. You have to put your jail. You don't pay them.
Right.
I talk about New York City. You don't have to say New York State.
Right.
I think they had 12% state tax. Missouri has about 2 or 3. Most of the states that they aren't crazy like New York and California and all that. The state, the federal taxes is really high, but the state is usually 2%. 3%,
yeah, that is ridiculous.
Now, if you make $100,000, you're still going to pay.
I remember
2% of that.
Lionel Messi got in trouble for tax evasion a few years back. Him and his father both. I don't know if he actually did it or not, but if he did, I really don't blame him. They were probably trying to take like a ton of money.
Where does he live?
He lives over in Spain. He plays on Barcelona.
Spain is... See, a lot of those European...
It might have been the Argentinian government, though. I'm not sure who was trying to take, because he's from Argentina. He plays on their national team and everything. That's where he grew up as a kid. And then I think when he was young, like probably around 9 years old, something crazy like that, he got his dad or his parents took him over to Barcelona, and then he started training with their academy program. So I don't know if it's like him getting taxed by the Argentinian government or the Spanish government or what. But
just few years ago, France is a socialist state, semi-communist, socialist. Everybody gets everything free. You come in, so you go into there, you go into Germany, all this. Just walk across and you ought to make a day one. That's my understanding. They start giving you money. Where's the money come from? It comes from Jordan.
Right.
And your dad. Those people actually work. The people that just come in there and don't work, they give them money. They give them houses. I think they can give them cars in some countries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That clearly, I
there's
mean, I
some
don't think
states-
that's right.
There are some states, if you're going to move, if you're going to move to a state, please move to a red state. Get one of those maps, you know, and don't. I'm telling you, the other states are a lot of them are like Illinois. They're this far from bankruptcy, and they've been there for about 10 years. Because like Chicago, you lived in Chicago for 4 months. Did you get a chance to go down into Chicago?
Yeah, I loved
Can
it.
you imagine how many people there don't even ever work in their life?
I didn't think about
As
that.
long as they're- as
I was
long as
kind of
they
walking around enjoying the
As
city.
long as somebody else gets their money. But I'm just telling you, if you go to one of those blue states, you got to get used to it. You got to used to saying, okay, I got $1,000. Where did 500 of it go?
I kind of do believe with the economic philosophy that if you lower taxes, then more job opportunities are going to be created because more money is going to be, people are going to spend the money different ways.
You got it down.
I do believe in that. I know it's a very conservative outlook, but that has nothing to do with my political beliefs. I mean, you and I both know I'm an independent. I don't believe I'm not.
Independent, stay independent forever.
Yeah,
Think about
I'm
both
neither.
sides.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to your good buddy that's a liberal. Sometimes don't talk politics unless you consider this politics. Hey friend, hey liberal friend, are you okay with giving?
I know him too.
Giving.
He's not going to. I know who you're talking about. He's all about money. He's all about money.
Well, he can't
He's
be a
gonna.
liberal then.
Yeah.
He won't be a liberal very long.
Yeah, if he starts making money and he starts getting taxed, yeah. What he is though, he's very ignorant to politics.
Everybody's ignorant.
Right, yeah, especially my
Until
age.
you get about 30 years old.
Especially my
You
age.
know more than that, because you have to listen to the crap that I throw at you. So you know a lot. You know a lot about it, even though you maybe didn't want to hear it.
Well, I know your stance on it. I don't know necessarily a lot about it.
I don't lie to you. I never lie to anybody.
Right.
What I'm telling you is from a conservative standpoint, but it's the truth.
Right.
And I'm telling you, you can talk. You can ask Scott. Ask him, hey Scott. Let's say you make $100 grand. He probably makes more like 200. But ask him, say Scott. Let's say you make $100 grand. How much of that do you give the taxes? What percentage? Just what percentage? I asked him one time, and I think he said, I told you this once before. I think he said, I bet you I pay $50,000 in taxes. Now, most people don't make that much.
Yeah, that's
And he lives in
ridiculous.
Missouri. He doesn't live in Illinois or California or New York or places like that.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
You're going to do it too.
You know, it'd be
If you're
cool.
successful, you're going to give a lot of money to the government. They're going to waste it. They're going to waste it. I can educate you now about how they waste it, but it's better off for you when you get 35.
They're gonna waste it
taking
on
half your
military
money.
spending. Yeah.
When you get a big old fat paycheck, and then you look at the actual check.
I hope that military
Yes, too.
spending starts going down, man. They're only able to raise that through fear. What are your thoughts on 9/11? Do you believe that was set up by the government?
No.
Really? Have you ever seen Zeitgeist?
I've seen a lot of people try to say that, but they're all proven to be nutcases.
It's all been debunked. I don't know. They put out a lot of hard evidence.
The fact
for
that
that
the United
with-
States would bomb themselves.
It actually makes a lot more sense than you think. I mean,
People your age, a lot of them probably do, but you won't when you get about 30, 27, 28. You'll start to understand things.
I mean, it did tap into some very motivating factors to send our country into war.
2,850
fear.
people died.
Right.
We killed them ourselves.
Right. Fear and anger to send us into war for profit.
You
yeah.
don't make money going into war.
Have you heard about what's I think it's like 11. There's a tower in New York City that just completely fell on its own on that same exact day as well. I don't remember the name of the tower. It's in New York City and it just collapses.
So you're saying
like an explosion, like just collapses straight downward.
was it a big?
It was never covered in the media.
Oh, that's a bunch of bull. That's bull. I guarantee you, the people that are in New York City and they watched it. I watched it on TV.
Right.
I watched it live on television. Those people coming out of those buildings are just.
I'm not saying
all over them. Their
right.
whole body has got dust and all kinds of crap on them.
Well, that doesn't really prove anything. I get the point. It's a tragedy regardless, but was it set up by the United States government is the question.
If you believe that,
I think there's a good chance that it was.
Then you are on the road to being a nutcase.
I'm not on the road. I'm just saying I question everything. I'm not saying I'm a nutcase.
I wouldn't question it, but you'll find out that it's too complicated
Right.
for somebody to get to put Muslims, the guys.
That's kind of my point though, that it was too complicated because there were a lot of I guess little flaws in the execution of it on the day.
Like what?
Like the tower I was telling you about.
I've never heard of that one.
I've also heard that apparently one of the men that was supposed to be driving the plane or flying the plane actually had their ID was found. I think it was on the subway or something. It was found somewhere in New York. With the ID of one of the men. I don't know if that really proves anything necessarily. Then there's also apparently all those men that were supposed to be on the planes are still living over in Afghanistan or wherever, somewhere in the Middle East. And there's some other things in that. I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm just saying I don't know. And I don't think anybody can speak with conviction except for really George Bush, the rest, and people that were involved with it at the time in the government that would actually know if it was or wasn't. I just think it is a lot more probable.
Well, if you think that way, you can line up with probably thousands of people that have all the ones I've watched come out in the news. They're all nutcases. Now, believe what you want,
That's your opinion of them, that they're nutcases.
There's no opinion to that.
Yes, there is. If they're a nutcase or if they're not a nutcase.
Tell me how they can get by with it.
Well, I'm saying if there's an opinion to it, if somebody's a nutcase or not a nutcase, you're kind of just belittling these people because your opinion of them is that they're crazy. They also might intentionally be bringing on people that are actually like kind of crazy to be spitting like fake facts about 9/11, so that because whenever you bring on somebody that's not credible whatsoever, and they're trying to support an argument, and they get destroyed by somebody who argues for a living, like Bill O'Reilly, who's just going to destroy that person in an argument. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but that person's going to lose, and it's going to kind of disparage the entire argument for the possibility of 9/11 being a hoax set up by the American government.
Well, there's some people that believe that are not stupid people.
Right.
They could give you a good argument. But it's been 16 years.
Right.
They probably are still investigating it.
I think there are some files actually released.
If what you say is true.
You're right, there are some very intelligent people that believe it. Like, almost without a doubt, they believe it.
Well, the ones I know that actually say it on TV, I would call them a nutcase. Because of a lot of those things they believe.
Right.
They don't believe anything that everybody else believes.
But like I said, they may intentionally be bringing the right people to come on and lose the argument and embarrass themselves, and in result, kind of embarrass the entire argument, any credibility that argument may have had before it could spread anymore. You know what I mean? Because ideas spread like wildfire, and
well, there's I guess if you were a good lawyer and you tried to go to court with that, best 20 lawyers in this whole country, the best of them, and they're all arguing for that. and there's one detective, one guy arguing against those 20,
Right.
he'd win.
So you're saying 20 nutcases and one...
Well, there's 20 people that really believe that the United States government
You're saying any...
calls...
I don't think there's any
buildings-
winner necessarily, because there's no really end result. Because, like you said, it's 16 years after. I don't think there's ever going to be any justice to that if it does be proven to be true. And I don't think it'll ever get released, because if it does get released, then people will realize that our government doesn't really care about us as much as people think, or would like to think that it does.
That's the truth.
Right. And I mean, think about it from, and as somebody who's like an elite, from their standpoint, their point of view, if they have, and they did, I mean, it's a fact that they had a lot to gain by going to war, by getting the country riled up, and the effects that 9/11 would have had, or did have, it's a fact that they had a lot to gain with that.
What did
And
they
if you
gain
look at it,
by going to the war? What did they gain? They spent about $3 or $4 trillion. 4,000 people died.
well, you could look at personal gain.
Thousands of people don't have legs.
I probably shouldn't have gotten into this argument because I don't know a ton. I'm really not. But I'm just saying. I'll admit I don't really
the
know.
argument, Jordan. We may as well say.
I'm just saying that my argument isn't for 9/11 was a hoax. My argument is that people need to think for themselves and consider the possibility that it was. And I think everybody should be open-minded. I don't think you should say...
I think you should too.
Right. But I think you should consider that it maybe was. And I agree. I don't think there's going to be any justice served 16 years later. I don't think it'll ever get fully released or anything
Did you learn
like
that at college someplace, or you just made that up?
I learned that from a documentary that I watched that was recommended to me by a college buddy. So, I guess I kind of learned it in college.
Do you believe that
It's a total conspiracy.
is global warming, is that going to bears and all that, and all the water is going to come in? And do you believe that?
Do I believe all of the ice caps are going to melt?
Yeah.
I do believe that they're melting at an exponential rate because there's hard evidence to support that. Do I believe they're all completely going to melt? I don't know enough to say yes or no.
You realize that...
I do know that. Have you seen the maps of when with the sea levels, what they would be like if all the entire ice caps melted? I mean, this was based on one map that I saw. I don't know how credible this was or how realistic it really was. It might have been to kind of put some fear into. And
Do you believe there's a solution that American people could spend enough money trying to make the climate not be hotter?
I don't think it comes down to money. I think it comes down to a change of habits.
You know what the experts are saying, Jordan? You know what the experts are saying?
What?
Like in 100 years, it might go up 1 degree.
These are the
1/2 degree.
The thing I hate about climate change is that it's become such a political debate. I do think there's a lot of hard evidence to support that climate change is real, and I totally do believe in climate change.
Do you know how much it's gone up in the last, say, 20 years?
What are your sources?
Well, the source would be the people that, in this case, it would be the weather people, the people that know how hot it was 20 years ago and how hot it is now, and all that stuff. I mean, the government spends a lot of money on that science stuff.
Right.
And
well, I get that, but
here's what I think about the liberals.
Okay.
To them, liberals look like, their mindset is that we are good people, we're smart people, and so whatever we know, we think we know, everybody else should think the same way. Because
you can't label all the liberals that way.
In the liberal mind, you can hear them all over the place.
Right.
I'm not saying every one of them. You know,
Okay.
there's Kurt's a liberal. I'm sure he's not stupid, like that.
Right.
Depends on how far you've let yourself go into liberalism. There's just like the liberals, they consider, I think O'Reilly came up with like 18% of liberals are really ding-dong, really far out. Well, that means, 82% of them, they're just liberals. They want to help everybody, and they don't care how much it costs. But they're not going to put their money into it. I mean, they'll pay their taxes, but I've never seen a Hollywood guy or anybody come up with like $10 million or $20 million to try to do something about it. It would be in the news if they ever did.
Chance the Rapper donated $1 million, and he's not that wealthy of a celebrity. He's probably his wealth's probably gone up a lot this past year. He just came out with that song with Justin Bieber and them and all that stuff. He's been doing a lot lately.
See, a lot of people give $1 million. We're talking about trillions.
But my point is that if we're talking percents of what Chance the Rapper gave, he gave a very, very large portion of his wealth to the Chicago school systems, which is undeniably a great thing to do.
Did it help the schools? We talked about schools the other night.
Right, and that I don't know. I'm assuming it didn't hurt.
We're going to count every house in St. Charles County.
Right.
Multiplied by, say, 3,000. That's how much money these schools are getting. There's not that many schools in St. Charles County. Maybe 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever.
But, okay, so back to what we were talking about before.
Billions of money, I think, We should be good. We should have good students. We don't.
Right, yeah, I agree with you there. But back to what we were talking about. What I kind of believe with, I think there's a good chance of this as well, and I know this is a conspiracy. I don't know if there's any evidence to back this or not. But you're saying the weathermen on TV or whoever, let's say you're watching Fox News, you're watching CNN, you're watching whatever your source of media is, I think there's a good chance that the oil companies who are making probably one of the largest impacts on this country or on the earth and making climate change what it is. The argument to support it, if it's saying I believe it, apparently it's not a fact. I lost what I was saying. They have an agenda. The oil companies, the extremely wealthy.
Everybody does.
Right, and they're extremely wealthy. How do we know they're not paying off the weatherman? Or paying off the station who's paying off the weatherman.
Here's my source. There's one guy in this country that has his entire life, adult life, he has studied all this. He's about probably 55 or 60 now. Everybody considers him the #1 weather person in the whole country. Maybe the whole world. I've seen him probably 10, 15, 20 times over the years come on TV and explain all these things in technical terms.
You showed me him.
He says it's not true.
Right.
I mean, he says man-made. See, it's not the fact that the guide is making it hot. The people that really believe that, and I'm not telling you I believe it or don't, because I don't know. I'm willing to be in the middle on a lot of things. See, I don't know.
See, I totally do believe it. I'm not in the middle.
I just don't think the United States could spend enough money to make it, it's supposed to get 1 degree in 100 years. 1 degree hotter.
See, I don't believe that.
That's what the people, okay, the same people who say this is happening are saying that, So if it's a group of people who says, yeah, there's global warming, don't even, and it's going to go in the next 100 years, it's going to be one degree hotter. Same people saying this stuff. See, in fact, I've heard 0.5%.
Right.
It's not like it's going to be 10 degrees hotter.
Well, that would make a drastic impact.
Okay, and here's what...
Even 1 degree does a lot.
Here's what when Al Gore started this about the year 2000, somewhere around, about 17 years ago. Al Gore came out with this. He figured that how he could make a lot of money. So he made all these movies
Right.
And he went in and at the certain times of the year, and he went in and all this stuff was melting and all this stuff, you know. So he said by the year 2007, this is about 2000. He said when in 2007, he made all kinds of predictions. People are going to die and all kinds, you know. The waters are going to come in and L.A. is no longer there, and millions and millions of people
it would be
are going to
Florida,
die.
but yeah.
And people paid a lot of money to go to his movies. He made 2 or 3 movies about that, and he convinced Riazzi. I think Riazzi was one of the ones who went and watched that movie, and he convinced him. And he's a skeptical. He's you don't know him very well, but if you ever do, he's a weird person.
Right.
He's strange. And
I got that on video. That's on video. I'm gonna show him that.
I mean, don't even think about talking about certain things. See, his father is Iranian. He came from Iran to go over here. So, boy, you know, Iran is the largest terror country in the whole world. I mean, they can prove that because of what they've done over the years and all that, you know. Don't tell him that.
Right.
Don't even mention Iran in any kind of negative thing, which you won't, you know. To you, that's probably political.
No, not really.
You know, Iran is the country, and now Obama gave them his approval to go ahead and make nuclear weapons. And they've been saying for 1,000 years probably. They're gonna
thousands.
Well, it's the certified, yeah.
But yeah,
Do
continue.
you know about the Crusades?
A little bit,
You're
but
like
continue what you're saying before.
1,500 years
You're kind of
ago.
all over the place right now, so.
Yeah, 1,500 years ago is when Christians and the Muslims started killing each other. That's been going on for 1,500 years, the history that I know of.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And it's never going to end. It's never going to end. But
I would agree with you there.
1/6 of the world is lesbians. Hey, take that back. Lesbians.
Hey, maybe that's what we need. We got a population crisis on our hands.
I think 1.2 billion Muslims.
How many Christians? Probably a couple
1.2
billion.
billion Christians.
Really? Even amount.
It's weird. You know, I looked it up one time.
Yeah, that is bizarre.
And it's almost the same thing. Well, there's 6 billion, I think 6 or 7 billion people in the world. So 1/6 of the world, they're Muslims. They're never going to stop. And let's say there's only 5% of them that really believe in killing other people.
See, I think religion pulls people apart so much. You know, I mean, it also adds a lot of value, a lot of purpose to a lot of people's lives, but
well, you
that's stupid. That's
you can look at religion, and you can say one religion in the world kills people, and that's the only one. Christians don't go around killing people. Jewish people don't do that.
Buddhists are pretty calm.
Buddhists, they just get back in the woods, you know, and go, I'm. They do their thing.
There's that duality
There's
with
one
with
religion,
Muslims.
one group of people that use their religion to cut off heads. There's only one.
That is bizarre.
I mean,
that's such an outdated way to think. To think that's like a religion in modern times, and it has 1.2 billion people. What, 1/7 of the world's population?
Understand?
That's bizarre.
Their country is still in the 1500.
Yeah, it really is.
1500 years ago.
I mean, not that long ago, but yeah, it's.
I mean,
it's in the past.
I don't think they believe in anything.
Oh, their beliefs with women are just so bizarre, man. Like, how are women not equal? They're just.
They throw gays off of buildings.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, if they find out you're a gay person in those Muslim countries, you're gonna be up on the building.
Dude, it's 2017, bro. Like, chill. Who cares about? Who cares if you're gay or not?
I mean, think 1,500 years ago it was doing that.
Well, still 50 years ago in the United States, it was pretty bad. See, I'm optimistic. I think it could change, and I think it is changing, just a lot slower than countries that are more accepting and open-minded, like the United States, like most of Europe. And
well, you look at Europe and the United States. I'm talking about.
Right. Not
necessarily countries, but yeah, countries. Let me say it, countries. Afghanistan. I bet you they throw gays off of buildings in Afghanistan. Maybe not all
I think
parts of it.
I think the greatest thing they could do is start accepting women into their culture.
They're never going to do that.
If they did, the effects would be a lot less violence. Because women are incredible at solving problems in a non-hostile manner. It's honestly incredible.
Let me give you one example. That TV series that I watched a lot.
Right.
The Reagans,
Yeah.
New York City. I don't know how many times I've seen the episode. They will go into an area town, and there's all Muslims in there. Now, the last thing NBC or whoever, that CBS, whoever, the last thing they're going to do is badmouth a Muslim. But you know what they do? They write this into the script. They have Muslims in there. If you're a woman cop and you walk into a Muslim group of people, you better have your shoes off, and you better put one of those things on your head.
In the United States?
Yeah, this is New York City.
That's ridiculous.
If that's fake, NBC would never.
If you're gonna come to the United States, you gotta leave your outdated ways of thinking in the past.
I mean, they don't even like women. In fact,
why do women come to the U.S. and accept that? Why do they put up with that standard? Why did you come to the United States if you're gonna be still wearing a towel on your head everywhere you go? That sounds very, very like a lack of empathy when I say putting a towel on your head. But someone justify that. But it does sound. But I mean, still, why would you wear that head thing?
You want to know?
Why would you cover your face if you came to the U.S.? Why wouldn't you come over and get rid of that thing?
What Sharia law is?
No. Chivalry law?
Sharia.
No, I have no idea.
That's the Muslim laws. They're taught from age 3
to
do these things. Now here's...
brainwashed. Conditioned.
This country, they're trying to get it in here. They're actually passing laws. The Sharia law is like, kill your wife. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That happened about 3 or 4 years ago. That happened in the United States. Either the brother or the father killed his daughter. Either the brother killed his sister. They killed this person because they went outside when they weren't supposed to. They didn't have the thing on her. They didn't walk behind a man, or they didn't have a man that went with them. They shot. I think it was the guy shot his own daughter.
Women are like slaves to their own culture.
Something else that happened. I told you this before, I think. The boy killed his sister and his mother. In this country, because Sharia law tells them certain things. Now, the good Muslims ignore Sharia law. They don't really ignore it. That's what they live by. But they don't go around killing each other. They don't do that.
Yeah, that's absolutely
so
ridiculous.
what you've got in this country, this is what I want to tell you. England is gone forever. Great Britain is gone. Germany is gone. France is gone forever. They will never recover.
That is so extreme.
They have 63 places, and I think in London, 63 places where they don't pay any attention to England law. They have Sharia laws. And guess what? No policeman allowed to go in there.
Why would they do that?
Because they're liberals that run the country.
In their own country,
and I say that with 100% true.
See, and I would agree with you on the Syrian refugees. We do not need those in the United States. We don't need terrorists here, man.
Now, Trump is trying his best.
We can help them in their own country. And I do understand it's a very tense situation. There's a lot going on that I don't understand.
Jordan, it is inhumane to bring somebody in this country and say, okay, now you're going to be one of us.
Yeah, it really is.
And their whole life they've been taught Sharia law. They've been taught, you're a woman, so you don't say anything. They don't have anything to say in their marriage.
They're so submissive to their own culture. The women are.
They don't say anything. You know what else they do?
It's deranged.
This is gross.
What's that?
They take young girls and cut out their genitals. Now
that's extreme.
People people like you that have never heard that before.
Sounds like the chastity belt was invented there.
No, they don't have. Now, once again, I've seen this girl on TV. It happened to her. She's probably about 35 years old now. She can't have any kids. Can't really have a normal marriage, you know. She can't even get married because, you know, dudes want to relax every once in a while. And it's about the grossest thing. But they're doing it in this country. They did it the other day. It came out in the news. And they're trying to find the people that are doing it and put them in jail. But if they live by Sharia law and
oh my goodness, I would not wish that on my worst enemies. That's.
I mean, I can't even conceive of it, you know.
That's.
And the women believe this or not.
Nobody
Now,
deserves
I don't know
that.
if it's true. I think it was 30% or 40% of the women. They did a poll. They did a Muslim poll.
I doubt that many women. There has to be some kind of feminist.
They don't have.
belief.
They're not feminists. They're not allowed to be.
They're
feminists.
just conditioned to be so submissive to their own culture, and it's
not
like the most
it's what
destructive thing ever.
How would they change if they're 40 years old and they come into this country?
Yeah,
That's all they've ever known.
they would see the other girls as like outrageous and
You
slutty.
can't even go
and-
outside by yourself. You have to have.
But it's the norm, you know. You gotta. Yeah, it's hard to keep an open mind at that age. At least it seems like it.
I think Trump might have it. You don't come into this country unless you can support yourself for the first 5 years. He's going to try to get that into law.
It's kind of extreme, but I kind of agree with it at the same time.
Agree with what?
The idea of you got to support yourself for the first 5 years.
Why shouldn't they be able to support themselves forever?
Yeah, true.
What would you do, Jordan? Would you ever take money from the government and just be a lazy bum, you know, and just take welfare and all that?
I totally believe in interdependence, and well, not, but you got to be independent in order to be interdependent.
Here's my opinion.
You can't be dependent.
I'll talk to your thing, and I'll give my opinion on that. Nobody in this country that's able-bodied. Number one, everybody that can't work should be taken care of by the government. You got that in there? The government should give them everything they need.
You heard it here first.
Like Nick Shannon has a daughter. She can't work. She can't do anything. She gets $13 a month.
See, that I'm extremely empathetic of.
$13 a month in food stamps. She's got a son and her. Look, think about that.
Right. That
Most
totally
people
makes
get
sense.
like $100, $300.
And I bet you would agree as well. I mean, you're like the most Republican person I know, but I would bet you would 100% agree that she is entitled to those food stamps. If she's unable to work, I don't know her situation.
Everybody.
I don't think.
She's just too sick to work. She can't even go to work and sit down.
Right. But you're right. Whenever people are taking advantage of the system, that's where liberalism has gone too far.
The only reason.
So you got to find that balance
people.
between
You gotta
conservative and liberal.
Some liberals really care about people. You look at these guys. You look at these guys in the government.
Some are very compassionate.
They don't care about anybody. A lot of these leaders in the liberal movement and Democrats, they don't care about those people. They want their votes. As long as they can keep them in food stamps, they'll always be poor. Mick's daughter is just really poor. Her son's, I would say in that case, threw him out of school. He's 15 years old, and school wouldn't take him anymore. He was really, really screwed up. He's 15. He's supposed to be getting his GED, or whatever they call it. And Mick's daughter, I know her very well. Mick had 6 kids, and that was my favorite kid. They lived right down the street from us. I watched her grow up. She can't make him do his homework. He's 15. He just absolutely says, he's a big kid, 15. His mother is sick, she can't make him do anything. So Mick just, when he gets started talking, that's one time he does talk about his family. Because his grandson, that's who he is. That's the one that's a nutcase.
He's kind of a loser.
Which is fine. I mean, if you're a nutcase, you can take medicine, you can do different things, and therapy and all this stuff, and you can help yourself. But they threw him out of school. In fact, that just recently happened, I think. Where are you in the 15? The 10th grade? Landon's 16, so probably the 9th grade. 9th or 10th grade, whatever it is. I think he's in the 9th grade, but not anymore.